Yeah, and we're just synchronizing our live streaming. This session will begin in just one other moment.
All right, welcome Rototom people to the final day at the Reggae University. Today it's all about musical families. As always, this session is hosted by David Katz from England, sitting next to me. Pierre Tosi from Italy on the other end of the panel, and next to her is Ellen Köhlings. She is from Germany, just like me. My name is Pete Lilly. Today we are accompanied by the musical expert Dr. Dennis Howard, ethnomusicologist at the University of the West Indies in Kingston, as well as journalist, producer, concert promoter, and sound system DJ. Dennis has just released his second book, The Creative Echo Chamber, Music Production in Kingston, Jamaica, which is available at iNation's bookstore right next to the Reggae University. We start our family day with the Big Ship family, which consists of Freddie McGregor, who is on his way and should soon join us, as well as Chino and Stephen McGregor. None of them really need an introduction, but I still want to give you some insights of their musical accomplishments. Like their father, Stephen and Chino McGregor started out doing music quite early in their life, being surrounded by music all of their lives. Both of them were not even teenagers when they made their first recordings and played various instruments. Stephen later turned to production, and at the age, I think, of 19, he was at the epicenter of the notorious artist feud, the Gully Gaza clash between Mavado and Vibes Cartel. And since then, he has produced for international artists like Fuse ODG, Sean Paul, Gwen Stefani, Neo, Michael Franti, and many, many more. His older brother Chino has also made good use of the Big Ship studio where they both grew up. He plays various instruments, is an acclaimed songwriter, and topped the Jamaican charts, not only with his brother's productions, but also many other songs for other producers. He put out the Unstoppable and Never Change albums in Japan and has a self-titled worldwide release on VP Records. He has collaborated with many fellow artists, including his father on There Is a Reward for Me. Right now, Freddie.
And please welcome the remaining member of the Big Ship family, Mr. Freddie McGregor. And Freddie,
okay, Freddie McGregor needs even less of an introduction than his sons, but still I want to give you some facts about his career, because he started to voice for Studio One at the age of 7 when he was in the harmony group, the Clarendonians. After that he worked with all, or not all, but most, some of the most important producers in Jamaica at the time, like Nani the Observer, Henry Janjo-Laws, Gussie Clark, and many, many more. The singer of reggae evergreens such as Push Comes to Shove, Bobby Babylon, I Was Born a Winner, became a producer himself when he started the Big Ship studio at his house in Havendale, where he is the captain. Freddie McGregor is not only a highly respected elder in reggae music that puts out great music. Until today, he just recently put out his album True to My Roots. But he's also active behind the scenes, for example, as chairman of the Jamaica Reggae Industry Association, JARIA. And yeah, he's just a legend in reggae music. I already introduced to you Chino and Stephen. I just want to mention that right now the world is waiting for them to release their collaborative album, Great Minds Think Alike. My first question I want to put to Dennis Howard. When I think of Taurus Riley, Protege, Chronix, Karim Burrell, and obviously all the Marley Boys, do you have an explanation why there is so many sons and daughters of reggae legends coming up in the music in the last few years?
It's kind of hard to explain because just as how you have a lot of siblings following in their parents' footsteps, there are a lot of kids that don't want to do anything with the music. So it depends on the circumstances. And in most cases, and I don't know if this is the case for Freddie. Freddie can answer to that. A lot of musicians don't want their kids to be in the music industry for various reasons. And they might not say you're not supposed to come into it, but they don't encourage it. And yet it seems to always happen that a significant amount of people still continue the business. I myself started in the music and entertainment industry because of my father, who was a dance promoter and a sound system operator. And he never asked me to be a part of it. I was just there around it, and almost by osmosis, you start doing what you want, you know, and usually you don't get the kind of, oh, you want to do this? Do it, man, and get the encouragement. It's like your parents basically want to say, you sure you want to do this? I don't even think you have the ability to do it. But I think why they do that is to kind of really test you and see if you have what it takes to be in the music business, because it's a very difficult business. Now, I can also say that it's because of the environment, and the music is made, as I said earlier in a seminar, in a very community-based way. And so once you're around the music, your parents might not be the person to teach you, but maybe an uncle or somebody from the big ship camp might say to Chino, come, let me show you how to play a piano. Let me show you how to play guitar. Without your baby Freddie even knowing. And then it happens that way. So, and last thing I would say, it's just because it's Kingston and creative is what we eat, sleep, and drink.
Freddie, what were your experiences as a child star at Studio One that you let your kids play music from an early age?
Wow. Well, for me personally, I see it from a different perspective in that, to answer Dennis's question there, I think children live what they see and they live what they learn. I think that answers to the point as to why the kids get involved in music. They're always around Bob Marley. So you can see some videos with Stephen, Ziggy, and them as little youths running around on the side of the stage with their father. So they naturally gravitate to it. That's what they see, that's what they learn. So they grow up wanting to do the same. But like Dennis said, none of us never encourage our kids to be in music, because I tell you something, this is one of the toughest business to be in, you know? It's really a tough business. Sometimes people see the glitter and the glamour on stage. I have no idea what goes on behind the stage. Oftentimes, we're not necessarily pleased with situations, but when the MCs call our name and we walk out there, we can't let our audience know that. So we have to put a smile on our face and we have to go out there and give off our best. So it's not the easiest business to be in, and from a business perspective, I'm sure most people would want to think twice before encouraging their children to be a part of the industry. But for me personally, this is a God-given thing, you know. Just said the singers and players of instruments shall be there, for all my springs are in thee. So when I became to learn that, you know, it really excited me. I want to be one of his springs. And if he put his springs inside of me, then that is exactly what I want to do. Unfortunately for me personally, it ends up being all that I've ever done, which is music. But I still would not have encouraged my kids to become entertainers. Because like I say, it's a rough road ahead. But if Jah choose them to be that and to do that, then there's nothing we can do, even as parents. We have to just work with them, encourage them, teach them, show them the right way, and hope that it works for them. Because in music, there's never any guarantee. And that is the reason why it has to be a spiritual thing. For me, it is. Because I could never have lasted like 53, going 54 years in music if it wasn't a spiritual thing for me. I would have long gone ahead and tried to do something else. But many are called, few are chosen. And I think I'm one of the people who are called and chosen to do this work. Hence the reason I've been doing it for so long. And I just give thanks for the support of the fans, basically, for helping me to be able to do this for so many years. Because oftentimes I ask myself, how this happened? And I'm still not sure. But it is happening, so, you know.
But maybe you could still share your experience as a child.
My experience
standing on a beer crate to reach the mic at Studio One.
All right, if I may, you know, in terms of time, but I'm going to give you a brief history of how mine started. We grew up in a place called Clarendon in Jamaica. And there are quite a number of us who is from Clarendon: Cocotee, Everton Blender, Barrington Levy, Carlin Davis, Morgan Heritage. I could name Derek Morgan, Toots. We could go back, all and on. But where we grew up, our only industry is sugarcane. So we have two major sugar companies. One is called Money Musk, and the other one is called Yarmouth. So our parents basically work in the sugar industry. I attended a school called Hayes Primary School in Clarendon, and Ernest Wilson, who was originally part of the Clarendonians, he attended that school also. And we both live in the same community. It's called Hayes in Tapil. So we ended up singing at school every Thursday. We would bang around on a old piano and we sing. And word started to get around that Miss Tiny, my mom, her name is Miss Tiny. So word started to get around that Miss Tiny's son can sing. And then I made up a little song called Roll Dumpling Roll. If you want to know how dumpling sweet, dip it into coconut oil. And that song became popular in my community. And you know, people would give me 3 pence, 2 pence, a penny and a half, which we call kwati, to sing the dumpling song. And every opportunity, dumpling roll, roll. So after a while, it was time for Clarendonians to go back to Kingston to do a recording session at Kingston Studio One. And my mom never had the money to send me to Kingston. So Ernest Wilson's mom, Miss Etlin, she offered to pay my fare to go to Kingston with Ernest and Peter. And my mom didn't, she never said no. She said yes. So here we are. I live about 2 miles from the bus terminus, the bus station. So when the bus blew its horn at 4 a.m. in the morning, we could hear that. So we have a shortcut that we would use to go out there and meet the bus. And this Sunday morning, my mom got me prepared, and my older sister got me prepared for the journey to Kingston. My journey to Kingston was a thermos full of tea, a nutmeg for my mouth, and newspaper for my chest. So the nutmeg is to keep you from being nauseous. And so too, if you didn't know, the newspaper that you read every day can help you if you're traveling and become nauseous. I didn't know that until it happened. So yes, that was my journey on to Kingston. And so when the bus got to the terminus, Ernest and Peter joined the bus. And the last instruction to Ernest Wilson from his mom, Miss Etlin, was when you reach the cemetery, which in those days we didn't know about cemetery, we said cemetery. When you get to the cemetery, which is Maypen Cemetery, you are downtown. So you're going to ask the driver to put you on a number 13 bus, which we call the Patipan bus. And this bus would take us to Brentford Road, where Kingston Studio One is. And so that's what we followed, that instruction. And Miss Etlin said to him, Ernest, take care of tiny son. So it became Ernest's responsibility to take care of me as a 7-year-old. And so, yeah, we finally got to Studio One. And that was a different experience for me, totally. Because coming from country at the age of 7, listening to all these great people on radio, not realizing that within an instant, I would be around those people. So when we walked into the studio, everybody was greeting Ernest and Peter because they were really popular as the Clarendonians. But everyone would ask, Ernest, are your little brother that? And Ernest would say, yeah man, little Freddie him can sing, you know. Hey guys, sing the dumpling song. So roll, dumpling, roll, many times. Every time someone asks, Ernest would tell them, yeah man, him can sing. Hey guys, sing the dumpling song. Roll, dumpling, roll. And after a while, I kind of became a favorite of the musicians who were at Studio One, which would include the Scatterlights, Dan Drummond, Jackie Mittoo, Lester Sterling, Roland Alfonso, you name them. And to add to that was some of the greatest artists. Alton Ellis, Ken Booth, Bob Andy, Tony Gregory, the Soulettes, Bob Marley and the Wailers, Joe Higgs. Then, I mean, you could go on and on and on. They were all there at Studio One. So for me, at that stage, was like walking onto a university campus for the first time, seeing all these great professors and students. And that's how it was for me. And then after 2 weeks, Mr. Dad had asked Ernest where I was living. And I was living in a place called McGregor Gully in eastern Kingston. And I get the name Freddie McGregor, so I don't know how that came together. But Mr. Dad asked Ernest to bring my clothes. And from there on, I ended up living at Mr. Dad's house with Mr. Dad, his wife, and his family. Until he boarded me out with a Christian family, sent me to a school on Hagley Park Road. And that's how it all started for me, and it just continued. I stayed there at Studio One from I was 7 years old. The first project I did outside of Studio One was for 90 Wholeness, the Observer label. And that was in 1979. We did an album called Mr. McGregor.
Okay, so but before we get to that, since you mentioned these early days when you were there with Ernest Wilson recording as Fitzy and Freddie, let's take a little listen to part of track 1, and Freddie, see what you can remind us of these days.
Okay.
Just once in my life, I think I'm doing alright. As young as I might be, I see the things you see. Just once in my life. I know, and you know, that things are not the same. I know that I have changed. Lord knows that I have changed just once in my life.
Yeah, so yeah, what do you remember about that song, Freddie?
Wow. I guess back then we didn't have cameras, and we had black and white if we could find one, but certainly the music remains. It's a great memory. I immediately started to remember that era in my life. I was among Bonnie Lee as well on Orange Street, and that's how a lot of these tracks came together. But also, I ended up having a song called Do Good and Good Will Follow You, which ends up on the Clarendonians album. And the track before that was a track called Why Did You Do It, which was also ska. And the first song I think I recorded at Studio One is a song called After Laughter, which is also another ska tune, and that's available on YouTube also.
Okay, and I'd like you to play a little bit of track 2, see if we can jog Freddie's memory a little further.
You have
where
them
we've got,
lined up?
no, we've got this is slightly later, but it's before what you were talking about when you moved on from Studio One and started working with 90. So we'll see if you can enlighten the good people here about this phase.
for me, I would settle down so easily every time that I keep traveling on. Every day I go around for every corner of this Kingston town. Yeah, yeah, then I keep traveling on. Travel through this town and other countries. It's time I think I'm gonna settle down. But I'm hoping and afraid that I won't change my mind. Traveling on, traveling on.
Yeah. So I think that song is 1973, and you recorded it with?
Yes, that song was recorded with a group called the Generation Gap Band, which I became the lead singer and drummer for at one point. But the song was arranged by Mikey and Jeffrey Chung, who are two of Jamaica's most brilliant musicians. And as I can remember, it was really fun working with them. But as you can hear in the song too, I was trying to kind of polish up on my pronunciation and getting all of that kind of stuff together. And that was after the Studio One era when I joined Generation Gap Band as a dance and show band. So we would be singing the top 40, whether it was Sparrow, Arrow, or whoever it was. Spinners, Blue Magic, OJs, we had to do them. So those were periods in my life where I was trying to perfect my sound by trying to pronounce words properly and get now with a production like that. I think that's a big production back then.
Okay, and you have a few different phases at Studio One itself. So if you can play a bit of track 3, and this is when Freddie is kind of coming into his own as a solo artist.
So that was another turning point in my personal career. And I think that was leading up to about 1970, between 73 and 75, thereabout. If you notice the songs that came out during that era, there was a big shift towards the cultural and the Rastafarian movement. It was about at that time that the consciousness started to awaken, and we started to see more of Africa, learn more about Africa, learn more about the struggles that we as a people were going through. And my lyrical thought process and concept started to change. That was when I started to grow my natty and never care about Babylon anymore and start to understand the oppression and depression where Babylon create. So the lyrical content started to change. Run, come, rally around Rastaman camp. I am a revolutionist. Africa, oh, here I come. Wine of Violence. I mean, those were the songs that came out during that time. And those songs really signified my most important change, both in my life and in music, because the cultural awareness was awakened then. And from then on, we just never look back. And we never try to do anything other than being positive and write and sing about the struggles, the problems that we face. And even today, I'm seeing it even more, because when you listen to the album True to My Roots, you know, we're really appealing. We're appealing out there to people. We're appealing for freedom, justice, equality. And we said the time is now. We're not asking about it anymore now, because we know and understand. So we're demanding that those justices and freedom be now. And that's one of the reasons I love Chino and Steve's new track so much though. We not tolerate that, no more of that. Because the youth them are grow, the youth them understand what going on. And that's what youth like Chronics and others are saying to the people right now. We not tolerate no more of them.
Freddie.
We're past that.
Freddie, I'm going to ask you a question because you mentioned Chino and Stephen. I've been on panels with you, and you are strident in terms of your Rastafarian faith and the fact that sometimes our music is going in a wrong direction and dancehall. And so you were very critical of dancehall. How did you feel when these youngsters became so big in dancehall?
Good question. Now we start to get into the seriousness of the thing. For years and years and years and years, I've always asked myself a question: what is dancehall music? And I seem to have a different perspective as to what is dancehall music from what some dancehall fan says about dancehall music. Because if you're coming from an era like myself, then you will understand dancehall differently. So let's use dancehall today. Look at dancehall today. Dancehall where I came from was literally everyone. Bob Marley, Eptones, you name it. Gaylords, Ken Booth, Delroy Wilson,
Uri.
dancehall, Uri, Big Youth, dancehall. Did dancehall change? To me, no. Because in the dancehall is where we hear all these great songs. So to me, there's a big difference with dancehall, the music, and where you go to enjoy a dancehall session. So the dancehalls are the place you go to and enjoy this music. But what is being played in the dancehall? Everyone is being played. So today we are seeing a new dancehall movement. And to me, this one is called gangster dancehall. And I don't see any place for gangster dancehall, because gangsterism is not something that we embrace in our music, whether reggae, ska, mento, or dancehall. Dancehall as we know it is always the best of what we produce, what we have to offer as music. So I can take you back to an era like Steely and Clevie. I can take you back to a dancehall era, Dave Kelly. And to me, those were potent dancehall eras. Because from that era, we had the rise of Shabba, we had the rise of Ninja, we had the rise of those great artists who came and stamped their mark on dancehall music, which we danced to.
Bounty Killer.
Bounty, Beanie,
Yeah.
Buju, which we embrace as true dancehall music. Today, what I see of the current dancehall trend is a hype, and I want to use the word penchant for badness and gun lyrics and drugs to a great extent. Now, that to me is not dancehall. That is people getting crazy and creating a bad hype. Because one must also understand that hype in itself, the word hype, if you follow the word, you're going to become like it. Because you are going to eventually think that you are one with the word. Hype is to make it seem that something is actually happening when it is not necessarily so. So you create a hype to make the thing look good, but will you actually live that life? No, you shouldn't. Because in the natural scheme of humanity, we don't go certain places. We don't say certain things. We don't use certain language. And we are conscious of that fact, because our children listens to our music, whether it be reggae, dancehall, ska, whatever it is. They listen. That's how generations grow. So if you want to pride yourself on creating bad lyrical contents and expect our youths to listen to it and say you are the top man, you are number one, that's foolishness. And as a matter of fact, the people must stop embracing what we call arms house music. We must only embrace that which is good, because music comes by the dozens every day. But we can't embrace all of them. We have to look for the ones that make sense and embrace those music and continue to push those music. Because we must understand that we have generations coming, and we want our generations of youths to be smart kids, smart, intelligent. We must teach them, and we do through our music. Just like Bob Marley taught us through his music, we have a responsibility to teach the other generation through music. So we have to be conscious of what we say, not what Cartel say and others like Cartel. Conscious of the conscious things that we say, and we must teach our children and push them in that direction. As for Steve and Chino, Thank you. As for Stephen and Chino, I think they came into dancehall at a time when it wasn't so bad, because it was after the rise of Cartel that dancehall became what it is today. And I think everyone will agree with that. But when they came into the music, the first song he created was a song called Cartoon Rhythm. Until this day, I'm still trying to figure out how was he able to put that cartoon rhythm together. I still don't know. But it was a great piece, and from then on, I knew that he understood musically what was happening. And I was always hoping and praying that they would grow to become solid people in music with a consciousness in terms of what we are trying to achieve. And so I can say today that they are right there in terms of consciousness. So I am confident that they can carry on the legacy in terms of conscious music, great music, which is what we stand for. Because I'm here to actually witness them doing it. And if you doubt me tonight on that stage, you will see for yourself. Sick, crazy tonight.
Well,
so, you know, consciousness, positivity, all the way. That's how I see it.
Well, let's take a little listen to one of the early collaborations of Stephen and Chino. And this dates from 2009. Track 12, please.
Sick. Big up to the friends, the fans, the fakers, and the enemies. Forever keep my brother Craig Dennis in my memories. Think me no remember, no for them come with the agenda. Said them got you, still them chat, you tell me no what kind of friend them is. No for them did not know them a pop down and a reminisce. True we gonna lead, now them a pre, we as them nemesis. Lyrics to the beats, we have the streets, we have the leverage. Them try to get with pies and slip for alcoholic beverage. Hater them not nothing for do, them have a third. Because I board them every day, them right up on them forum out. Chino this, Stephen that, one for say we slow down, a chat about a thing, but tell them we not afraid of no tongue.
Them bad mind, them a try stop with glory. Them never know half of the story. Them a fight, but we still no worry, because them never know we protect them. Bad mind, them a try stop with glory. Them never know half of the story. Them a fight, but we still.
Your turn.
Yeah, so Stephen and Chino, what can you tell us about putting that rhythm, putting that track together?
That track. All right, Protected was actually when I was in album mode for my second album. That was exclusive for Japan. At that time, I already had a big enough buzz in Jamaica and in dancehall. I actually wrote that song out of anger, believe it or not. Steve made the beat and hummed the melody. At that time, he wasn't thinking of becoming a professional solo artist. You know what I mean? He hummed the melody with the idea of me singing to that melody. So Stephen showed me a blog one day. I don't remember the site or what it was. And they're pretty much bashing us, saying, boy, yeah, them alright, them only boss because of them father name and this and that, and you know what I mean? So out of anger, I was on my bed and playing the beat that Stephen gave to me, and first thing that came to my mind was, hear what them say. Him only boss because him ride off for the boss name. When me just a boss, me never advertise my last name. And that's how the song and that verse started. Listening back to it now, that didn't sound like an opening verse. That sounded like a second verse. So I listened back to it now and I came up with the second verse. Big up to the friends, the fans, the fakers, and the enemies. Forever keep my brother Craig Dennis. And RIP Craig Dennis, he just passed away during that time. So that's pretty much how that song came about. And it was really refreshing musically. At that time, there was a ban on Jamaican radio for for curse words and what them call daggering music. So that was very suitable because there's no edits, you know what I mean, it's super clean, but at the same time it's authentic, and you know what I mean, the grassroots and the hardcore fan base can still relate to it. So that song blew up really big, you know what I mean, and even up to today, you know what I mean, that's one of the classics. Like any dance in Jamaica or otherwise that's played, the response is the same as when it just came out. Anywhere I perform it is the same. So yeah, that track is a very special one, Protect It.
You don't have anything to say, Stephen?
Chino basically just.
All right, let me ask you a question. You guys have come under some serious criticism, as you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And when you basically started to do this type of song, it was, from where I stand, it is a post-dancehall kind of music. Because at that time, dancehall was of a structure where it was a count, rhythm start, and it is basically syncopation with the emphasis on the third. So it would be. That would be dancehall with a phrase in it. Now you start your song at an introduction, couple bars where there was some nice chords going down, and then the drum syncopation was totally different. It was like a mixture of hip hop. And even some like a poco. So it's a fusion. And you came under criticism because your rhythms were sounding very different, and people start accusing you of it being hip hop and all of that. Explain what you were trying to do. And the final part of the question, why did you stop doing these kind of beats? Because from where I stand, this is a new form of Jamaican music in the making.
Well, to answer the question of what I wasn't really trying to do anything, to be honest. That was just what was naturally coming out of me creatively. As Dad mentioned earlier, we grew up on his music and a lot of different genres. I grew up on a lot of hip hop as well. I was born in the 90s. So that was just me fusing. I mean, a lot of my sound, even dancehall wise, comes from a fusion of music, all the music that I listen to.
Yeah.
So some of my dancehall rhythms have R&B, hip hop elements, rock stuff, like even Protected. We have like a song like From Morning, we have a rock guitar intro in it, you know, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But so it wasn't really me actively trying to create anything, but I mean, thankfully that sound worked. In terms of the next question was why I stopped doing. I don't stop doing that kind of thing. That kind of sound is more popular in Jamaica now.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know if I can take the credit for introducing that kind of style, but that sound is more dominant right now from that time coming up. And then, so there's a lot of that now. So it's probably not as unique as it was at the time when we came out with that, since there's been so much.
But I think if you never had the criticism, you'd have taken it further. So I'm encouraging you to continue.
For me personally, criticism don't really play a big part in my in my creativity, to be honest. Because I mean, I'm very aware that with whatever you do, there will be criticism. So I really just, I mean, anybody who knows me personally, I really just live in the studio. I don't really watch anything else that's happening. So, you know.
Okay, so if we can play a little bit of track 13. So Stephen, this is some different samplings from some of your rhythms, and see what you can let us know about putting them together when we listen to it.
say them are my friend when them my enemy. No for them I pray and them a penny me. Them nah go see, them nah go see, them nah go see my pop down. It's funny how them can pretend to see. No for them I pray, but them nah go see, them nah go see, them nah go see.
Me and some boy can't friend again, nah friend again.
Think them was more than them.
Me and some boy can't friend again, nah laughing again.
Me no want to see none of them.
Me and some boy can't friend again, nah friend again.
Right now at the end of the day.
Me and some boy can't friend again, nah friend again.
Worse, me no afraid of none of them.
Nah go hide the truth, me have to talk. I'ma tell them, say them never walk the road, them when me walk. Road on me I got no Waterford, no Gregory Park. Me no walk them road, come in no trust the shadow after dark. Me no pre someone when them a pass them bad remark, no. Me shot a friend, them lock the whole of Hagley Park. No killer but me surround by the eagle and the hawk. Run the devil with the evil and the fuck. Yeah, the verse I done, me have a bag of thing for talk. Like how me give them strength and show them love out of my heart. Never know them want the link for part. Never know them want the ship for sink and want to park. Them boy they can't get when them talk. Bring them out in the light when them did hiding at the dark. Someone a reason when me see them I hold my half. Now from the friendship put out. Me and some boy can't forget.
Yeah, what can you tell us about putting together a rhythm like that? And
Yeah, it's kind of like the same.
That have some truth to it, so you might want to tell them.
Yeah, well, in terms of the composition, firstly, that was kind of like the same that I just explained a while ago. Just me kind of combining different genres while still trying to maintain a groove that would work in dancehall. And then lyrically, that was coming again from like a personal situation, like what Chino mentioned. But we just tried to kind of tailor it in a way where it was relatable to everyone and not just my situation. So it's still clean and still very to the point, but still very relevant to the public, you know. So, and it turned out to be a really big song that people can work with and relate to.
So I think Chino and Stephen was bringing in a lot of things because even the introduction, it reminds me of Freedom Sound because your thing was, tell me how it starts. How it go?
Like that.
And it's Freedom Sound is pa 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 boom, pa 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 ba da boom.
Same
So
kind of vibe.
you're infusing ska, R&B, rock steady, dancehall, mentor in the composition.
I mean, a bit off track too. A lot of that fusion that you mentioned, you'll hear a lot of that on the upcoming project, the GMTA from myself and Chino. I think that is where we really went in the most in terms of like fusing all of the different genres and stuff. So you heard it.
A lot of people still say that, a lot of people from your father's era would say that you guys are you're strained from the bass, and you have to stick to the drum and bass, and you must stick to the roots. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I mean, I think in terms of, two things, because I think that in all different genres of music, I think different periods of the music, there are slight changes. And I think that is the same that when it happens to our music. I mean, I'm sure it's perspective too. I'm sure persons who came from the more scat time, probably in an era like when Steely and Cleaver came about with the technological computer dance, a lot of people would give them criticism on that as well and saying it's not live instrumentation and all of that. So it's the same thing, but I mean, I think once the feel is maintained within the grooves, like you can hear a song like Protected with all of that fusion and thing, but it still feel hardcore, like a hardcore dancehall track, but it's not necessarily the dancehall beat like what you mentioned before. So it's just slight changes within, and I mean, all genres have that going on in them. So it's not like even a dancehall or reggae thing alone. So.
Freddie, you talked about the content of contemporary music before. How do you feel about the production side these days, where artists don't have to be on key like they used to, but they just put in the auto-tune and they're good to go?
Well, I'm always want to be honest when asked the questions, because sometimes people know the truth and don't wish to speak. But I've always said, the truth will set you free. And I am not 100% sure about the current level of production. In that, I think the younger generation of producers are trying to go more hip-hop. That's my personal opinion. For example, a producer among us, his name is German, he's one of our engineers, and he played me a really nice track one day, really beautiful track. And then I said to him, German, check this, I'm gonna do something for you. Play the track again. And he played the track. And I'm demonstrating to him, if you use this drum pattern, cough, cough, what a difference the track itself would make. I'm just trying to explain to him that it doesn't have to be more like hip hop, but you can still maintain the element of the grassroots in there. Because after all, if you're in Jamaica and you're making music from Jamaica, the signature should be Jamaica. You don't want to be in Jamaica trying to create Cuban music or trying to create Jay-Z's music. Yes, music is something that we dabble in and we use different things from different music forms. But I just think that the basis of it should always be to feel it in the one drop and still find time to rock. Because it's all there, you know what I'm saying? If you keep it in the one drop, you can do a lot of different things with it. And the one drop usually signifies Jamaica and the Jamaican music form. However, like Steve was saying early on, in every generation musically, there are changes and there has to be changes. Today in 2016, I wouldn't want the Jamaican music form to have sounded like when Scatterlights was around. Hence the reason why we have all these changes. Sly and Robbie's, Steely Clevey, Dave Kelly's, Stephen, many young producers. So the music has to move on as time goes by. I myself wonder what it is going to be like in 20 years. And it's something that I consistently think about in my mind. What will it be like in 20 years? And that's the reason why I make the album True to My Roots. Because I thought that the thing was drifting a little from the roots, to be honest with you. So we'll come back with a track where I say, hopefully this can bring back the thing. Forward to my roots, we are trod through the valley. Valley of death, conquer that mentally. And the rhythm that we use. Baya, 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 bada, pam, pam. Or as original grassroots as you can get it. Original level. So just an idea of what it is. But sometimes it's hard to kind of change the way a lot of the young generation think. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I wish the younger generation was solely the type that would seek information from their peers. Because we may have maintained a lot of the good stuff in music. But to me, as soon as enough youngsters get the opportunity to become popular, the whole focus has shifted. They no longer feel like they can listen to their peers, and they think that it's about them. So they are doing their own thing. Well, I guess everybody has to do their thing, but my thing is reggae music out of Jamaica, and that may continue to stick with.
Okay, thank you. Now, in just a moment or two, we're going to open this session up for question and answer so that you good people here can put your questions to these esteemed guests. But before that, we need to play this new outstanding track from the new collaboration between Stephen and Chino. So give us track 14, please.
Now hear this. Well, the youth them of today is they no longer will them take any more injustice and sufferation. We were once all kings and queens, princes and princesses from Africa. In other words, we were born in wealth. As it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. What is to be must be. In other words, the youth them fear of things. Watch it, move. In this 21st century, man have to move stealthy. Poorer get poorer while the richer get wealthy. Time after time, them a act like them blind, but reality they in front with face like a selfie. Father God help we, my God have plenty. While the gods him live abroad with all Bentley. While them a floss with basket half empty. Truth is an offense, so me nah fit talk gently. Study fi pass the class, the job them give. Can't even have them.
So Stephen and Chino, what's the name of that track and what's the album?
The track is called Zero Tolerance. There's a video out for that right now and it's available everywhere. And the album is coming this fall called GMTA. That means Great Minds Think Alike. So collaborative effort between myself and Chino.
Okay, and in the interest of time, we're going to go straight to the Q&A. So who would like to be the first among you? Yeah, we got a question in the front row. Yeah.
Yeah. Keeping it relevant, just want to say, the combination now, what would be the combination between father and son? Because that sound of me here, just straight up on your father, I love it. So is there anything in the pipeline for the come together, father and son?
There's actually one on the Captain's album.
Okay.
It's called Rasta for Party.
All right.
So with that being said, make sure you go out there and buy True to My Roots album. It's in stores right now.
Good, good. Say keep it going, yes.
I have a question for Stephen McGregor. There was a time where you put out a lot of rhythm selections, and then you didn't stop, but you put out less rhythm selections.
Yeah.
Why did you make that decision?
It's just growth, really. I got my really big break in dancehall in like 2004, 2005.
When you were 9?
So I mean, that would be 10 years. You know, so I think that in anything that you're doing for a decade, there has to be some kind of growth. So that was just me, trying to branch out and taking on some other stuff as well, So, and thankfully, a lot of those things working right now. So, I still have a lot of rhythms, but I mean, just to broaden the horizon a little bit and just try to execute some more stuff.
Did it have anything to do with the sales or the not existing sales at a certain time, maybe from 2007 and the industry, how it changed?
No, I mean, because like I said before, like I mentioned to him, I've always just worked on my own thought process in terms of like the creativity aspect, like what sound I'm going to put out. I'm not really following what the criticism or whatever it may be. I mean, and even with that being said, to like the same sound that we were just discussing a while ago that we basically came up with, that's still the same sound that's being used today. So it couldn't be a matter of being criticized. You know what I mean? So.
Thank you for that question.
Also, to add to that, I think Stephen, well, you wouldn't understand, but I can tell you that Stephen is quite modest and kind of a little held back too. But I think part of the reason for that is Stephen has been signed to Sony ATV for a long time, since he was 17 years old. So there come a time when he has to focus on the work he's doing with his international company that he's signed to, which bears him fruit, as you hear him speak of just now, because he also has a song on Drake's album that he's involved with. So those are some of the kind of works that he's doing outside of just dancehall as well.
Thank you. Okay, time for last few questions. So who would like to put the next question to? Yeah, we got a couple on this side of the room and one at the back.
Greetings. So can you hear me? Greetings, and I just want to thank you for the music that you've put out over the decades. I first saw you perform roughly in about 1981. I was about 11 years old. It was my first visit to Jamaica. And Big Ship is the tune that stood out for me at the time. Sorry to you, Freddie.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
My apologies. Big Ship is the tune that stood out for me at the time. And I just wondered, what is your perspective, or was your perspective, on the political climate and social climate at the time, and also why did you call it Big Ship?
I tell you something, Big Ship was a true inspiration from His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie first. Because all of my inspiration come from the Almighty, and His Imperial Majesty is my Almighty. So, at the time, when that thought and vision came to write Big Ship, it was perfect. Because in 1981, when you saw me, 1982, England went to war with the Falklands. And as such, a whole heap of ship was going down every day. and the whole concept of big ship sailing on the ocean was becoming more popular in England. And then the cruise ship lines catch on to the song, and then everyone started to use it when they were going out on a cruise, big ship sailing on the ocean, coming back into the port, it was big ship. So the whole momentum started to build until the song eventually just blew up and became popular everywhere. But His Majesty, to him be the glory, is his inspiration.
Thank you, yeah. Yes.
Blessed love. Brother Freddie McGregor, my question goes to you. Within the last days here at Reggae University, we got to understand that the ancients of the Nyabingi order in Jamaica are in serious financial problem to support their life. My question is just simply, are you committed to support elders or ancients within maybe the 12 tribes of Israel, where you were at least a member for a certain time? I don't know if you're still a member, but do you some work in that kind of way, or do you support social activities like to support the youth them or any other social commitment?
Yes, I think I'm one of the artists who has always given my support first and foremost to those kinds of situations. I've always been doing it. Over the years, I'm the artist who have donated most to the Haile Selassie High School in Jamaica. That's something that I personally take on. And yes, I am a member of the 12 Tribe of Israel. I am a member of the Rastafarian community, whether it be 12 Tribe, Bingi, Bobo, whatever. I think what is lacking, though, and I must be honest, like I said earlier, it has taken us as a people too long to become organized, to deal with our struggles and our situation. Ask me why it has taken so long, I am not even exactly sure. But I think we've been caught up in the same Babylon that we fight against, and the principles and the things that we stand for and spoke of over the years, we don't fight on and carry through. And I am going to be honest, because we all are part of the process. I give you an example. While being a member of the 12 Tribes of Israel, there are so many stumbling blocks and roadblocks and red tapes that we as a Rasta people don't need. We just need to focus on what His Majesty asks us to do. But because of the red tapes and so on, you have to do what you have to do. So for years I've been a second drummer for that Rastafarian community. Meaning whenever there's celebrations and stuff, Albert Malawi, who is a great drummer and a singer, was the first drummer. I volunteered to be the second drummer, to the extent that I got the opportunity to back Bob Marley playing drums for him at the University of the West Indies on a 12 Tribe concert. But then I realized that the movement was slow, and the things that we stand for, they weren't happening, so I had to move on. So my moving on was to work and build my own recording studio. Not for my sons, but because of the era I came through. If I had a recording studio, it might not just help me, but it will help a lot of artists who wouldn't have the opportunity to go through. That is just one scenario. Also, in terms of the sisters who need help, we really and truly shouldn't be crying out for help, because we should have been so organized that the help is automatic. But let's not go back to the reasons why those things are happening. I think what we need to do is to concertatively put a program together and see the program through. And it is sad that we have to be experiencing these situations now from where we're coming from, because it should never have been. But we are there. So I still think we have the opportunity to come together as a Rasta people globally and do what it is that we have to do. Babylon now do it for we. We prove that. So what it is that we need to do? Just organize ourselves. When I became the chairman for Jaria, it was the first time I had taken on an organization and to be the chair. And prior to that, I never had any experience, any board experiences, because that was my thing. But I did it because I saw the movement, I saw what was necessary, what needed to happen. And so I took 2 years and stood there as a chairman, and I've learned so much, because there are so many people around us that helped to guide me through that process. And I realized that outside of just talking against Babylon and fighting Babylon, we have to do the physical work. We have to set the structure. We have to establish the thing in the way it ought to be. Then we can go to Babylon and say, yes, this is what we have, and we're ready. What are you offering to this? So we still are not there yet, unfortunately, because His Majesty said we must organize, centralize, and go home. And while we have sent a lot of people home, it don't even scratch the surface yet in terms of what we're supposed to do. So if I sit here and tell you that I have the solution to it, no. But I can tell you that whatever is required or whatever is asked of me when it comes to our people, I'll be the first to be ready to give of myself. So it's a situation that needs addressing, but hopefully we can discuss it and put some fire into it and make people understand that that situation is happening. And again too, I must say this, in the age of technology, we should now be able to start reaching everyone through social media, get the word out, so we know what is happening and that we can make our contributions in the proper way. So just start processes, brethren. But I'm glad you asked a question, because I think a lot of people here didn't know that, including myself, about the sisters. But if there's some other information that you have, we can speak. Well, we can speak to the brethren them, and the brethren maybe can speak also and just explain what is happening so everyone can get the fullness of it and see how we can actually be a part of the solution.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, just to quickly mention, this session is about to finish. We've got one last question at the back, but I'm just reminding you all, do not move, because when this session finishes, we've got a next session starting directly at 7 o'clock with Max Romeo and his son and daughter. So please, deliver your last question at the back briefly, and we'll bring this session to a close.
Hello.
I'm begging a little time to have that brethren speak after the last question, please. I beg of you.
My question is for Freddie McGregor and about the song Push Come to Shove. And I would like to know, is it based on a true story? Because now I find in a similar situation. My girlfriend moved to the United States. Every day I'm thinking about going to that airplane and see her. And then I would like to know if it's true, and if it is, can you tell us the end of the story, please? Thank you.
That is something else. Yeah, and I'm glad you have that experience right now. Because when I wrote the song, it was for the exact reason. It wasn't necessarily about myself. It was about a number of people who might find themselves into the same situation. So the fact that you are in that situation now, the song worked for you, and it certainly worked for me. But yes, it was a thought process. I'm a longing to see you. I wanted to write a song about airport and traveling, because we're flying up and down in 1986 so much. And I was flying from Washington, D.C. to Jamaica, and I had 3 hours. So I decided to use my boarding pass as a writing pad and pen some lyrics. And then the first thing came to mind was I wanted to use a Jamaican slang that would resonate. And push come to shove is one of the slang that my grandmother always used. So that really came to mind. But then now putting the body of the song together, I'm like, yeah, so now, okay, yeah, so your girlfriend gone, right? And you're there, you miss her. So I'm a longing to see you. I want to know what you've been doing over yonder. Well, next thing, I'm going to catch this flight. And when I reach my destination, I hope you'll be smiling. So maybe you need to catch a flight soon too. And that's the whole thing, you know. But when push comes to shove, everybody's going to put the blame on me for loving you, for missing you, same kind of stuff. So I'm glad it resonates to you personally and that you love the song. But just keep in touch. Drop her a line, because in the song we also have that. I thought you'd drop me a line just to say hello, my dear, I'm doing fine. So stuff like that you can still do and keep the relationship intact. If not, you'll have to fly to America and check her. So.
And do we have time for a 30-second statement from Ross Flacco, following on from the earlier question?
Rastafari, give thanks
Yes.
to the family,
Yes, brother.
each and every one. I will hand you this booklet eventually, but to bring two things to your knowledge, Priest I-22, who designed the Nyabingi stamp and seal, is legally blind for 3 years.
Yes.
Marshanti As Kaspas seems to have an Alzheimer's, she's almost 90, over 90. And also Bongo Zato, who is priest of the Nyabingi, also one of the 7 priests. But this book have ancients from the Coral Garden, Atrocity, and others. So due to time, I'll hand it to you just now.
Yes, please.
And in your own time, you could carefully go through and see how best we could assist the ancients. Rastafari.
Give thanks.
Yes, this is how we get information out there so we can tackle the problems that we have. Give thanks, beloved.
Yes, and thanks to one and all for your contribution. As I said a few moments ago, we're going to take a very quick breather, and we'll be right here, top of the hour, 7 o'clock. So if you stretch your legs, don't go too far. But for now, please give one last round of applause for our special guests, Freddie, Chino, and Stephen McGregor.
Free, Rototom, free. Rise and be free.
Own some modest. Own some modest.